Hey guys, Dr. Shook here. Hope you're doing well today. We've got a very important topic to discuss. This is something that there's a lot of misperceptions, misunderstanding as regards to food sensitivity testing and its importance and how to do it correctly, what the results mean. There are so many issues with food sensitivity testing that I want to help you guys understand, because one of the most common things that I see in practice is that people, for one, they get food sensitivity done that's, number one, not reliable at all. At best, they don't get enough testing done. But what I most commonly see is that the results and the type of testing that they've had done is not accurate, and that whenever they change their diet to the foods that show up on the test, they don't notice any difference in how they feel. And one of the reasons is because your tests are inaccurate. You spent your money on the wrong testing. Okay, I've done lots of different types of food sensitivity panels, and there's only one laboratory I will use. So let me go through a lot of the problems that we see so that you guys can understand before you end up going to your doctor and getting a test that you think is giving you information about your diet, and you use it thinking it's going to help you with your autoimmunity, and it doesn't. Okay, so let's go through this. So we're going to talk about Hashimoto's and food sensitivity testing, and most importantly, how to do it right. Okay, how to do it right. So number one, probably one of the most important things that I'm going to tell you this entire presentation, there's only one laboratory that you should spend money on. I want to repeat it, one laboratory that you should spend money on. There's only one laboratory that I will recommend anyone get food sensitivity testing done through. Because I've seen testing done through other labs, I've worked with other doctors that have sent the same sample under two names to different labs, and if the results don't come back very, very, very close, then that's not a reliable test. Okay? So I'm going to tell you now that one lab to get the testing done. Not through your allergist, not through your primary care doctor, not through conventional labs, not skin scratch tests, blood serum tests. Okay? Blood serum tests. One lab that you should use to get food sensitivities. This lab right here. Cyrex Labs. The only lab that I will recommend, the only lab that I'm going to order food sensitivity testing through. If I'm doing immune-based testing, this is the only lab that I will recommend to anyone to have done. Cyrex Laboratories. Immune-based testing. But if you're going to do food sensitivities, which is what we're talking about, people ask me about this all the time, this is the only lab, not your doctors that you typically go to, not the conventional labs. This is the only lab that gives you the information that I think is accurate and most reliable. Cooked and raw foods. Several patented techniques to ensure that what they're testing and the results that they're getting are accurate. No one does this. No one. Cyrex. Cyrex Labs. C-Y-R-E-X Labs. Phoenix, Arizona. Only company. Have I said it enough? Because the rest of the tests, when they come into my office, they're just about worthless to me. Because I've seen testing go out to most of these labs and the results come back. They don't use the methodologies. They don't check cooked and raw versions of the food. So you go and you get a test done. I'm telling you, you can send it to me. If labs are doing this now, fantastic. This is the only lab that looks at cooked and raw versions of food. So when you get your test done and it comes back and says you can have tomatoes or you can have cabbage, guess what? What happens? Those are all the raw versions of the food. So are you eating tomato sauce that's been cooked? Because if you are, once it reaches, I believe, 105 degrees, it changes the protein shape. So guess what happens? Now you're dealing with a different antigen or a different reactivity. I see it all the time where people, they don't react to raw cabbage, but they react to cooked cabbage. They don't react to raw tomatoes, but they react to cooked tomatoes. So all of the other labs only looked at the raw version. Is that what you want? Do you understand that that's what you're getting? Most doctors don't understand that. They just think that it's tomato. Well, no. When you heat it, it changes the protein structure. This is just one of about 20 different reasons that the only place you need to spend your money for testing is Cyrex Laboratories. I'll say it 100 times. And yes, you will have to pay for that out of your pocket. I'm just telling you now, there's no insurance coverage for it. And that's a whole different topic that we can talk about, guys. But the fact is, and this is the fact, Your autoimmunity and your problems are as unique to you as your thumbprint. That means you have a very unique autoimmune condition that's being driven by things that other people's aren't. You can only do so much guesswork, guys. You can only do so much. And if you're going to get testing done, you need to get testing done the right way. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm just going to kind of interrupt this discussion and tell you this too. This and food sensitivity testing is absolutely not the place that you start. It is not the place that you start working up your autoimmunity. Because food sensitivities, you can often have, and we'll talk about it down here, but food sensitivities, I'll see people that react to everything on their panel just about. Like they react to all the foods. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that they react to all those foods? Well, it can mean a few things, but one of the things that we commonly see is that there's an infection that's an active infection that promotes and perpetuates a lot of this reactivity to these foods. So what you should have started with is actually looking at the infections first, which is typically a stool panel. So this is not talking about the overall approach, but I'm talking about food sensitivities because so many people think that that's the magic bullet, and it's not. It is absolutely something that needs to be done as part of a comprehensive approach, but it's absolutely not the place you start. And you don't want to spend money with any lab except Cyrex Labs for probably the 10th time, right? It's just because so many people bring me stuff and they're like, I just went to my doctor and they did the skin scratch test. Completely unreliable. That's not a reliable test for food sensitivities. Not at all. The skin, the scratch test, absolutely not reliable. The other thing is they're like, well, I had testing done. You know, I don't care wherever you had testing done. Some are better than others, but they don't check cooked and raw versions. They don't run the test 2 times. They don't look. They don't have protein purification techniques, standardization of what they're checking your blood against. Just too many problems, guys. It's not reliable information. So Cyrex is the only place to go. So number 1, why might these tests be wrong? Even Cyrex testing, okay? So first of all, you have to make sure that your immunity is sufficient. You have to make sure that your immune system is sufficient and that it can respond to the foods that you're testing your blood against, okay? So here's the thing. Total immunoglobulins is a test that can be done that we order through conventional labs like LabCorp, Quest Labs all the time. We do it before we do these immune-based tests in almost everyone, especially if your white blood cell count is around 5 or below, okay? If your white blood cell count's a little bit higher, then it's typically okay because you have enough white blood cells which make the antibodies that we're testing, okay, on a food sensitivity panel. So one thing that's a good rule of thumb, check your total immunoglobulins, IgG, IgA, and IgM. It's something that can be done through a conventional lab. We do it very routinely. After we've seen someone for our first appointment and I know with the direction that we need to go, we typically get expanded labs done, and this, if immune-based testing is what is the next step, okay, if we think it's going to be the next step. So total immunoglobulins, to make sure that these don't come back false negative. If these are low, if your total immunoglobulins, you don't have enough IgG, immunoglobulin G, immunoglobulin A, especially G and A, if it's low, these will come back false negative. And then what value is that? First of all, you just spend a bunch of money on the test, but then it comes back false negative. Okay? And especially if you have low white blood cells, or they don't have to be lab low, but just around 5 or below, you're much more likely, this is more important in that case, okay? Because I've done it, and they come back completely negative, and like, this is wrong, this can't be right. And the fact is that you've got to get these checked first, immunoglobulins checked first, to make sure you have a capacity to respond. You don't want to spend all this money and then come back false negative, okay? Number 2, avoid drugs that suppress immunity if possible. I'm not telling you not to take your medications, but I'm telling you if you get this testing done, if you're taking immunosuppressants or steroids, these are things that can absolutely suppress your immune system and your ability to respond, and these result in false negatives. So it shows negative, but it's not. You still have reactivity to it. It's just your immune system is suppressed by these medications, so you cannot respond to it. Okay? So medications, I'm not telling you to not take your medications. You have to talk to your doctor about that. But I'm telling you this, if you're taking these medications and you're talking like this you have to wait you have to wait a month sometimes for this stuff for the immune system to have the capacity, and then you definitely want to check total immunoglobulins to make sure that you have the capacity to respond. Okay, I mean usually if you give it a few months, you're no problem at all. But if you're off of them for a few months, but you have to talk to your doctor about that. I'm not telling you what to do. So avoid drugs that suppress the immune system or any tests. All these tests are going to come back, even the Cyrex test, false negative. Same thing with the immunoglobulins. If you don't have the capacity to respond and make the antibodies, then it doesn't matter what test you get, it'll come back false negative. Did I say positive? False negative. Everything would be negative even though you might have a reactivity to the food. Okay? Number 3, the test will be negative if you don't eat the food. Okay, so many people are on specialized diets, right? So we don't eat the foods, and they've been on elimination diets, paleo diets, you name it, and they're like, I want to find out what I can eat. So they've gone months without eating it, and they go get the test done, right? They get the test done, and they're like, yes, I finally figure out what I can eat. And it comes back, and if anything, it's just they're showing reactivity to the foods that they're eating. And the other foods are all negative. Well, here's the deal. If you don't expose your immune system to it, then it's going to be negative, guys. It's going to be false. It's going to be negative. What you have to do is you have to do a provocation. Now, don't eat foods that you know are problematic. Like if you know for sure, like we know gluten is a pretty problematic food for lots of people. There's certain foods that if you know does not work for you. I'm not saying provoke it, right? But if you want to know if your immune system's reacting to it, then you've got to eat it for a minimum of about 2 weeks. Really 2 weeks, or you've got to eat it frequently. You've got to eat it like enough to have a reaction. So I usually have people eat it, daily, really, or several times leading up to their test. So the foods that you want to eat, you just need to say, okay, I want to, think about the foods you want to eat. Go eat them. Yes, you might provoke an immune response, and I'm not telling you to do this without supervision from someone, because there are different conditions, obviously, like if someone has multiple sclerosis and an immune flare could cause them to not be able to walk. Well, that's a different story. Like I'm not telling you to do this without supervision, without someone supervising and giving you guidance, but I am telling you that if you don't eat the foods, you're not going to test positive. So you've got to eat the foods that you think are, they're reactive foods, like nuts, seeds, grains, and all these other things, and dairy, and all the things, soy, eggs, all the stuff that you're typically remove. If you want those foods back in your diet, then you have to eat them at least 2 weeks prior to the test. Even a month is reasonable, like a month ahead is very reasonable, so that your immune system can be exposed to them and you can see if you have regained oral tolerance to the foods, meaning you can eat it now and not have a response. If you have not regained oral tolerance, then you're going to have reactivity to it. So you've got to eat it to see if you react. If you don't eat it, it's going to come back negative, and when you do start eating it, you might have a reaction to it, right? So do these tests right. You see, it's a little bit more complex than you would think. It is, isn't it? I mean, there are more things to factor in here. What if, number 4, what if you react to most foods that are tested? It's just like you react to everything. Well, guys, this is a very good sign that you have lost oral tolerance. Oral tolerance is a term that basically describes whether or not you can eat a food and react to it and not react to it. If you're tolerant to the food, you can eat it and you will not have an immune response, or reaction. If you have lost oral tolerance, you react to the foods. If you've lost oral tolerance, you may react to almost everything in your panel. When you see someone that reacts to everything, you've got to look for underlying drivers of that reactivity. You've got to look for infections that have not been identified, bacterial, viral, parasitic, fungal. You've got to look at environmental chemicals they may be reacting to. You've got to look and see, do they have a reasonable capacity for an immune system response, an appropriate immune system response. Now, what does that mean? That means, do they have adequate vitamin D levels? Do they have adequate vitamin and mineral status? Because this is really, it shows a sign if you react to all the foods, there's immune hyperactivity, dysregulation, there's something else going on. So you need to make sure that you have an appropriate ability to respond. Your immune system has an appropriate ability to respond. So you're looking at things like vitamin D. You might want to utilize glutathione. You might want to utilize other fish oils and things to help improve immune regulatory function. And then you want to look for any kind of hidden pathogens or infections or chemicals. Those are all real problems that can come up with these tests. So just know that it's not always as clear-cut as it may seem. It's not like this, perfect thing that you can do that just, opens up every door. It's always a little bit more complex than we think. So, guys, I hope this has helped you to better understand food sensitivities. And guys, here's the thing. Food sensitivities, I want to mention this too. Food sensitivities are not anaphylactic tests. We're not looking at food allergies like IG. So you notice I mentioned IgG, IgA, and IgM. GAM. These are the things that we're testing here, the antibodies. What we are not testing are IgE, okay? Immunoglobulin E. Those are the things, if you have IgE reactivity to foods, those are the anaphylactic responses where the tongue swells, throat swells. That is completely different than sensitivities, which are primarily IgG and IgA. Okay, IgG and IgA. Those are food sensitivities. This is food allergy, IgE. Okay, we're not talking about IgE. That's not what we're testing. Okay, I've seen a lot of people go to their doctors and say, hey, I want to get tested for food sensitivities. And like, you don't have it. And they're like, well, I want to get tested for it. So then they bring reports in to me, and it's IgE testing. The doctors they don't understand what you're looking for. And quite frankly, they know a lot of things that I don't know, but this is not something that they're trained in school. This is all postgraduate stuff that's not traditional medicine, that's focused on helping people with disease processes and infections and things like that. This is really looking at chronic disease processes from this functional medicine perspective. Your doctors are very knowledgeable, great people, but you're going to the wrong doctors for the advice and the guidance that you want. In most cases, I'm just telling you, I see it over and over and over, and I see people become so frustrated because they are missing the point that they're with a doctor that does not understand this approach, and they're going to someone that they expect to know everything about healthcare, and they don't know. And they advise you against doing, alternative approaches because, quite frankly, they're just trying to protect you. They don't understand this world. They don't understand all the science and the evidence behind this kind of approach. So I just want to let you guys know there are a lot of nuances here and things that you need to be aware of. No matter what testing you have done, you've got to be aware that there are a lot of potential pitfalls. You don't want to use the wrong test. And what labs are the wrong labs to go to? Any lab except Cyrex Laboratories. My personal opinion, from the research that I've done, from the things I've been exposed to, I would not recommend anyone, from the clinical outcomes that we've seen. Guys, you may not know this, but in the near future, we're moving to, I've worked with a lot of people, like we worked with a lot of people where we see you guys, you come in or I work with you as a consultant, and I work with you and I help you investigate and give you direction on what to do. The most frustration that I've seen people have is where I give them guidance and they make some changes, but they can't, or they don't get the testing that they need to do to figure out what's causing their problems. And then they spend money on testing and they take this time and they don't get better and they wonder why. And why is because your autoimmunity and your problems are as unique to you as your thumbprint. So there's only so much trial and error that we can figure out. So in the near future, what I'm trying to do is give you guys as much guidance as I can that I'm going to give you on your own with like our programs and things that we use. But for me, when I work with people, I'm only going to work with people in 3-month blocks that do testing because, quite frankly, if I work with 200 people and they're all emailing me and asking me these questions that need to be answered with testing, then that's it. What happens is it spreads me really thin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to focus on helping a few people really maximize their health so it doesn't spread me so thin and so I can really take people to optimal health to the best of my ability. And I hope that makes sense to you guys. But these are critical pieces of the puzzle. They really are. They really, really are. And there's a lot of stuff you can do on your own. But that's what like our program's for, like our thyroid program, our Hashimoto's transformation program. That's a great program that a lot of people have had good success with. that if you're not ready to get testing, can be a good starting point for you that's diet, lifestyle, and supplementation based. And we're getting ready to have a webinar very soon. You can go to hashimotosdoctor.com/TCD. It's on the toxins in our environment, guys. It's a game changer on the way that I look at things and that I'm going to be approaching things with you guys. So I can't tell you guys how important that this webinar, what I'm going to be sharing with you guys is going to be. So hashimotosdoctor.com/TCD, and you just go there, and all you need to do is put in your email address, and I will notify you well in advance of the webinar. It's probably going to be another week, probably 2 weeks before we do it, but it's going to be, it is absolutely paradigm changing, game changing. This is such a huge problem that we see. This is still a major piece of the puzzle, though. Okay, guys, I hope this has helped you out. And as usual, what my goal is try to educate you guys so you can be better informed. You can become your own advocate, right? You can be educated, and ultimately, you can be a better partner with your healthcare providers. I mean, there's so much talk out there about people being, it's almost like an us versus them, an adversarial approach. I get that. But I will tell you, and I know a lot of you feel like you're fighting your doctors, and I can definitely empathize with that. The reality is, though, is that we've got to help each other. If we create this division by trying to fight with everyone, that's not good for you. That's not good for your stress response. That's not good at all. That's bad for everyone. That's bad for your doctors. It's bad for you. It's bad for everyone that's going through these problems that you are. We got to have people that unify and not that divide. So we need to be better partners with people, and we need to try to share and educate. We're going to do that together. One person, one family, one community at a time. We're going to change the world doing that. Okay? We're going to do that together. You help us. Help me help other people. Share the information that I'm teaching. Help us get the word out about this stuff so that people can help themselves. Because quite frankly, doctors are overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. There's so many people. Like, the more that I teach, the more people contact us, and they're just like, well, I need help. I don't know what to do. And it's overwhelming because there's not enough of me. There's not enough of doctors in general to help this wave of sickness that's coming, guys. We've got to change. We've got to change how we take care of ourselves together. Starts education with you, decision to put your health first and to try to make a difference. Okay, so I'll stop lecturing you guys. I'll stop lecturing you guys about how to be healthy and why it's important. But I think you guys get it. Anyway, hope this helps you out. I gotta go. I got an appointment right now, and I'll talk to you guys again very soon. But guys, help us help other people. Like and share this video, please. If you found this interesting, and remember, I'll keep doing videos about the things that you guys like. Please give some thumbs up, some hearts, share with other people. I appreciate you guys so much for being here, and I hope this adds value to your life and improves the quality of your life. I'm doing the best that I can to help you guys out, okay? So I appreciate you so much, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Thanks. Hey guys, Dr. Shook, thank you for viewing our videos. I hope they help you out. If you want to, just subscribe to our channel somewhere here. You can watch a video that YouTube's actually selected for you, so hopefully it'll help you out. If you need any other information or resources, just look in the description. We've got links to our website, to our 9 lab test guidebook, and everything else that we do. I really appreciate you, and I hope you guys have a great